Interesting.
Yeah. All right. So today we will start Forex Beginners course, Module 3, Unit 1.
Module 3, Unit
Unit 1.
1. If, if
Elements of Forex trading strategies. So now we are going to the strategies. Before we go to the strategies, we need to know the elements of the strategies. So that is very extremely important. All right.
hmm,
So the first element we'll be using few will
Partha,
be
1 minute. Can you zoom, please?
yeah very okay. So this is one and then zoom. Yeah, is it better?
Yeah, that's better. Yes, a little
All
better.
right. So
Why am I
very
getting not the full screen? On the right hand side, I got my face is appearing, and on the and NP financials at the top, two squares on the right hand side.
yeah. So what we'll do today, we'll be starting the elements, and we first there are very few elements which will be using as the standard ones. Otherwise, it will be our proprietary developed own element. So the first one we'll be using is the pivot point. So let me introduce you to the pivot point. Pivot points were originally used by the floor traders. So in the PIT, pivot points are considered to be leading indicators. There are very few leading indicators are there. One of them is the pivot point. The other one is the divergence, and the other one is Fibonacci. So Fibonacci you already know because we can have those lines much before. So that is why it is leading.
Yes.
Pivot point is leading because it comes and sits on the day one or before the first day of the month. So and they will stay there for 30 days or 31 days. That is why they are leading. Pivot points are calculated from previous significant prices. What are the significant prices? They are high, low, and close. So we are not taking open into consideration. High, low, and close. The price is
Mhm.
coming from below to above. If the price is coming from below to above the pivot point, it is and staying above the pivot point, you can write it down, and staying above the pivot point. That means price staying above the pivot point after it is coming from below to above the pivot point and staying above the pivot point. It is generally considered as bullish sentiment.
Yeah.
On the opposite, if the price is coming from above, now it is coming from above to below and staying below the pivot point, price is staying below the pivot point after coming from above to below the pivot point, it is generally considered as bearish sentiment.
Okay. Now I understand that.
Yeah.
Now, when you say a pivot point, that is the pivot line, no?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll,
Yeah, because
I'll,
before,
I'll show you.
when
I'll,
I learned from you before,
hmm,
we were only trading on the
yeah,
pivot line.
that's correct.
Mm.
So we have not we are still using it. The lines above the pivot points are resistances R1, R2, R3, resistance 1, resistance 2, resistance 3, resistance 4. These lines can act as profit targets. This is very important statement. These lines can act as profit targets in uptrend, but in downtrend these lines can be turning points. So in downtrends, if price goes to R1, R2, or R3, so price will possibly go down again from there. But otherwise, the price is going up in an uptrend, we can take profit at R1, R2, R3, R4. Do you understand?
So the price will be between the pivot line and R1, R2, R3.
Correct.
Okay.
The lines below the pivot points are known as support lines: S1, S2, S3, S4, support 1, support 2, support 3, support 4. These can act as profit targets in a downtrending market. So in a downtrending market, the price is going down. We can profit from at these points.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
when you're selling when you got a selling trade.
Hmm. Yeah. But in an uptrend, if price is going to S1, then there is a high probability that price will bounce from S1. Okay.
Yes.
So this is very important. The opposite is very important. The normal is important. Profit target is important, but the opposite is also very important. The opposite is also very important. Okay.
Mm.
So let's next one. Any question?
No, that's fine.
So these are the pivot points we'll be using. Monthly pivot point in pink, resistance 1 monthly R1M, resistance 2 monthly R2M,
Yes.
resistance 3 monthly R3M, resistance 4 R4 monthly. And similarly, S1M, S2M, S3M, they are support 1, support 2, support 3 monthly. And when the book was written in 2012, there was no R4 or S4. Now they have introduced R4 and S4. Also, when this book was written, there was no quarterly pivot or monthly pivot, but now the software has introduced quarterly pivots and monthly pivots. So we it is giving us better opportunity to identify the support and resistances in a smooth
Mm.
way. Okay,
Hmm.
make sense?
Yes.
Question?
No, that's fine.
Okay. Now, the monthly pivot will be used. Monthly pivot will be used if we are using a daily or a 2-day chart. If we are using a daily or a 2-day chart, monthly pivot will be used. But weekly pivots will be used if we are using a 4 hourly chart. 4 hourly chart will be using in Forex Professional. Now we are in beginners, then we'll go to advanced and then professionals. But since we are discussing the pivot point, it is good to know. And also for weekly pivot, we have pivot weekly in purple color just to segregate between the monthly and the weekly. Then we have R1W, R2W, R3W, R4W, resistance 1, 2, 3, 4
Okay.
week.
So now you got, we're talking about weekly pivots. So you have monthly pivots, you got weekly pivots, and not quarterly.
Not?
Quarterly pivots?
Yeah, quarterly pivots and yearly pivots.
Right.
Yeah.
So from yearly, quarterly, monthly, weekly, then from there, do you have daily pivots?
We have the daily pivots for intraday, but not now. Not now. Not here. Not now.
Not
For
now
in
means not at this time.
not at this no, not at this stage.
Okay. All right. So, okay, let me just uh, get it in my head here. Uh, so if you are doing a 4 hourly trade
Yeah.
or a 12 hourly trade, you will work on the weekly pivots.
Only 4 hourly, not the 12 hourly. 12 hourly will be using monthly pivots.
Oh, ho, ho, ho. Okay, I have to write that down then.
Yeah. 12 hourly daily, 2 day will be using monthly.
So
4
we will.
hourly
So 4 hourly trade
will be using pivot, weekly pivots.
use weekly pivot. Right. Yeah, and
12 hourly and
12 hourly,
daily and 2 day
12 hourly daily.
and 2 day.
You don't trade 2 days, no?
Yeah, yeah, we'll be trading the 2 days. I'll show you. Just write it down. We'll be
Uh,
using monthly pivot.
daily and 2 day.
We'll be using monthly pivots.
Okay. All so three of them are using multi pivot. One is using weekly pivot.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Got it.
Uh, so then we'll. This is very important. When we do, we superimpose the weekly pivot. This one R1, R2, R3, S1, S2, S3 on the monthly. So this is monthly from day 1 to day 30. In that month, we have week, second week, third week, 4 week, 4.33 weeks. So in a month, generally there are 4.33 weeks. So these are the weeks. That is why we segregate the color. So purple is the pivot weekly and pink is the pivot monthly. Generally speaking, you need to do this exercise and tell me the number. is that if the weekly pivot is staying below the monthly pivot, like this one, weekly pivot is below the monthly pivot, weekly pivot is below the monthly pivot, weekly pivot is below the monthly pivot, then the entire week, Monday to Friday, Monday to Friday, Monday to Friday, then there is a possibility that price will go down. Similarly, if the weekly pivot is above the monthly
Now,
pivot,
a question. Where is now, you said, uh, you just pointed on one, two, three of those horizontal lines, the
mm,
purple lines,
mm,
below the line, below the pivot line, below the monthly pivot line, you
yeah,
point, yeah, that one. And the that one, next one, yes, and the right one, yeah. So now price is between the red line and the purple line, is it?
yeah. So yeah, I'll show you. Just remember, if the pivot weekly is below the monthly pivot, then there is a possibility for price to go down. But if the pivot weekly is above the monthly, then it is possibility that price will go up.
So it doesn't matter whether the price is above the monthly pivot line or below the pivot line. That theory still is the same, is it?
Doesn't matter. We need to see where the price is.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I understand.
All right. So let's show you that. Let me bring this in front of you.
You got some
Right.
nice penguins.
Right click and then more and then duplicate chart and then maximize. I think that is already here, so I don't have to do that. Yeah, that is already there. All right. So let's take this moving average out for the moment now. So we have the monthly pivot. We have this one here, R1, R2, R3. And then we have the quarterly, yearly, but I'm not showing you that. I'm just showing you the weekly pivot. So let add indicator and then PIV and then make it pivot points and then make it weekly, weekly, and then just take them everything else. Just I'll just keep the pivot, and then I'll make that pivot as purple as I said. I take the S1, S2, S3, S4, and here also I'll just take them out just for demonstration.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm taking
Very busy
everything.
otherwise.
Yeah, I'm
Chart is
taking
very
it,
busy.
and I'll make this as pink. So pink is the monthly, and purple is the weekly. Okay,
Hmm.
so let's see. This is GBP CHF in front of you,
Yeah.
and then so let's see maybe GBP USD for the time being. Okay. So see this one here. This is the monthly pivot and this is the weekly pivot. One, two, three, four. So all these pivot one, two, three, four. All of them stayed
Yes.
above the monthly. So that is why price went up. Similarly here, one, two, three. Three of them stayed above. So price also is above. Now this
So
one.
now let me ask a question. The the candles, are those pivot lines there before before price moves?
Yeah, like this one here in front of you. This is the prior pivot this week. So pivot is already there. This pivot is already there.
Can you forward a bit more, please?
Come again?
Can you pull the screen back some more? Other way, other way. Ah, okay. So
Yeah.
the pivot line is there in advance. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
Yeah. All right.
So I understand. I know where you're going now.
Yeah.
So the pivot. Okay, okay. So the from what the pivot line is doing, we have to identify where price is going to go.
Yeah. So if the pivot is below the price, then price will probably go down. If the pivot is above, if the weekly pivot is above the monthly, then probably price will go up. So that is
Correct.
what we have demonstrated here. Okay.
Okay.
Any question?
No, that's good. That's very good. Very interesting.
This is very interesting. Yeah, you need to do this practice, and then we will show you some of the characteristic of price in and around pivot points. Sure. So this is the pivot weekly. Whenever you see pivot weekly, you need to make the chart for hourly. Whenever you see monthly, then you need to make the chart daily. So this is weekly. That means this charts are for hourly.
Mm.
So pivot price was below, and then price went up to the pivot because pivot works as a magnet. So it pulls the price up to the pivot, but at that point it got a rejection. It got a rejection. It did not touch. It can touch. It may not touch. We cannot force price to touch or not touch. Price will do whatever it does.
Yes.
Yeah. So we cannot like this, like this, like this. In this case, price touched. In this case, price touched, but in this case, price did not touch. Okay.
Mm.
So that can also happen.
So in this instance, on the left hand side, you covered it.
Yeah, go.
On the left hand side, their price has gone up and bounced there on the yellow circle and started coming down.
Yeah. So here pivot walked as a resistance. So here pivot walked as a resistance in front of you.
Yes.
And then once the pivot has walked as resistance here, and then what happened? Price came down and
And
came
bounced on support.
S1. Yeah. So this is support one, and in this case it did not touch, but it did a double bottom.
B class
It-
double bottom.
yeah, it did a double bottom.
Mm.
Okay.
Mm.
So this is one example of pivot price bouncing from pivot point. So this is one
Yes.
example. Any question here?
No, very good. Very good.
This is an example, another example of pivot bouncing, price bouncing from pivot. So price came bomb below, as I said, price came from below to above the pivot, and then stay above the pivot. Price went up and did a rule of 4 at R1, test the R1 and came back to retest the pivot. Price came back to the pivot to test the buyer's eagerness, willingness, commitment. Always price taste and taste and retest and retest and does everything to know whether the buyers are committed, eager, willing, or controlling the market. So when price came from below to above and stayed there straight, it went up to R1, got profit booking, and profit booking created it to come back to profit booking, and then did a rule of 4, and then it came back to pivot to retest the commitment, eagerness, and willingness of the buyers. It did all sellers out, close is near to the low above the support, and then boom. Here in this case it did not stop below the pivot like this one here. In this case it did not stop below the R1. It crossed and closed above R1. Very, very, very important. When it is crossing above R1 and staying there, so there is a possibility it will go to R2. So price went out to R2, did a again all buyers out, close near to the high at a resistance. Similarly, this one closed near to the high at a resistance. All buyers out, all buyers out, all sellers out, and then price came down a little bit, struggle at R1, and then boom came to R pivot, and then did a little bit struggle, and then closed below the rule of 4 and then came down. So this is how it always does. It will do rule of 4.
So the close of the candle, you're not using candles now, you're using the normal bar chart. Now the close of the chart, the bar, the position of the close of the bar is going to give you an indication as to where it is going to stay below or above R1 or R2. Is that
Exactly.
correct?
Exactly correct. 100% correct.
Okay.
Very correct.
Yeah. Okay,
And
I understand. Hmm. So
any
now
other
for this,
question?
for this one, I guess that's maybe a stupid question, but
So,
why, why are we jumping from bar chart to candle chart and then candle to bar chart for these lessons?
nothing, no, not any reason, no, not at all any reason. Our strength is we can see candles on bars and bars on candles. So
Right.
you can do anything, and we can say that this is a bearish engulfing, this is a bullish engulfing, this is a bearish engulfing, this is a
Yeah.
bearish engulfing. That is the strength of us. So we don't mind using any. So this is a
Yeah.
bearish engulfing.
I don't mind either now. Before I didn't like the
Yeah.
candle, but that's okay. I am quite happy with the candle. No problem.
Very good. So this is bearish engulfing. This is bearish dark cloud cover. This is bearish engulfing. This is piercing. This is piercing. Yeah, so on and so forth. So it
Mm.
doesn't matter. Any other question?
No, that's good. Very good. This is very interesting. This is
Yeah,
now we are getting somewhere, I think.
yeah.
Mm.
So here you can see that price got sold off from R2 because it could not clear the resistance 2. It got sold off. It tried again for the second time. It got sold off. So it got sold off at R2 here. Okay.
Yes. Now the pivot point, not the pivot line, R1 and R2 automatically comes on the chart, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That is automatically there.
We'll have to set it up. We'll have to set it up. So what you need to do, you need
Every
to
time do you have to every day do you have to put the lines in there?
no, 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 no. Only once in your lifetime.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay. That's what I
Only
mean.
once.
So it's already like a template. It's already on the chart.
Yeah, right click and then add indicator and then pivot. That's it.
Yeah. That's okay. Yeah, I don't
Any
even know that now.
any
Mm.
other question?
No, that's very interesting. Very good.
So this is a continuous break. So this is a very strong downtrend in this example. Why? Because price came from above. I told you in the first slide. If it is coming from above to below and staying below, stay below the pivot. So there is a probability that price will go down. So in this case, there is a rule of 4 here, and then there is a rule of 4 here, and then there is a rule of 4 here, and then there is a rule of 4 here. So all the rule of 4 with the break created havoc and price went down. In this example here, price never closed above S1. No, 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 no. So 7 bars it did not close above S1. Here, it did close above H2 once, but the high was not taken out. Twice, but the high was not taken out by 10 pips. Similarly, this fellow did not close above H2. Here, it did the crack and snap back, close above and close below and close and high taken out. So if we are in a trade from here, we'll be closing the trade here. Okay. So
Okay,
that
can
was
you go
how
back
to do
and
that.
show me, explain that crack and snap back there? That one?
So
Yeah.
this fellow cracked S3, isn't it? Crack
Yes.
means it closed below S3. S3 is this one. It closed below.
It penetrated and closed below.
Closed below, penetrated and closed below, and immediately penetrated and closed above. So this is crack and snapback.
Okay.
Alright.
Right.
Any other question?
Well, that's good. Mm.
So this is another example of pivot bounce. Price from below came to above and stayed there, went to R1, did not close above R2. No, 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 no. Did not close above R2, R1. So only option is to go down. It went down and then went up to R1, did not close above R1, again came down, did a crack and snap back from this support. So this is a morning star. This is a morning star, and this morning star support created havoc here. So gave a support line
Yeah,
here. So
that's all. That's a double. That's a
double
class
bottom.
double bottom there.
Class A double bottom, very good, very good, very good. And price could not penetrate that class A double bottom. It did a crack and snapback immediate on the pivot, and then here after that there is no looking back. It boom close above the R1, boom, close above the R2 and close above R3 and then stayed above R3.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
very important to observe what the price is doing at R1. Very important to observe what the price is doing at pivot. Very important to observe what the price is doing R2 and so on and so forth.
Mm.
Make sense?
Yes.
Question?
No, this is excellent.
Very good.
I was waiting to get to this point.
Absolutely. No, no, you did very good. So this is a range market. How do I know a range market? Previously, I told you that if the Bollinger is flat, then there is a possibility of range market. The second category of a range market is if pivot is bouncing from between R1 and S1. If pivot is bouncing between R1 and S1 and staying below R1 and above S1, then it is a range market. For the entire week, it did a range market. It did a
Yeah.
range market. Yeah.
Mm.
But here, our rule of four is extraordinary, beautiful. So rule of four went up to R1, rule of four came down to pivot, rule of four went to S1, rule of four went up to R1, and so on and so forth. Yeah, all the things are following the rule of four, and we understand that this is a range market. Makes sense?
Yes.
Question?
No, that's very interesting. Very good.
Excellent. So when we are booking, when we are entering at the pivot, we may book profit. And as I told you in the first slide, R1, R2, R3 can be profit booking. So R1 is a profit booking, and then S1 is a profit booking, R1 is a profit booking, R2 profit booking, R3 profit booking, and so on and so forth. So as I told you, in an uptrend, this is uptrend, impulsive, corrective, impulsive, corrective, impulsive. So in impulsive, corrective, impulsive, corrective. So the corrective touches S1. When the corrective touches S1, bounce, boom. So
Mm.
impulsive, corrective, impulsive up, corrective down. When the corrective down is coming at S1, there is every possibility that price will bounce from S1, because this is not downtrend, this is corrective down. This is impulsive up, impulsive up, corrective down, impulsive up, corrective down. Correction stopped at S1. That's what written in the page number 1 on this. Now we are in page number 11, and price went up, boom. Okay.
Right.
So you do this practice of monthly pivot, weekly pivot, S1, S2, S3,
No,
S4.
yeah. This week I won't be doing this. I was very interested to see this. So now I
Yeah,
got access to the tutorial notes, so I can read that when I have some time.
yeah,
But and study it. I like to study before I have to do the practice because then it
yeah.
helps me. But
So
I
do this.
will the practice I have to finish off my head and shoulders,
Mm,
and then I got to do the penance.
mm,
And then once I've done those two practice and sent it and got the corrections, then I come to this one. But in the meantime, when I'm waiting sometimes for them to correct, I can read these things in advance, and
yeah,
I
absolutely,
can,
100%.
yeah, that's good. So
All
that's
right.
very good.
So
Excellent.
you do this study, and then I'll talk to you in the monthly class at 3 o'clock Sunday.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Take care.
Thank,
Bye for now.
okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.